Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur, coming at you today. This is Friday evening, October 7th, 2022. Welcome to IFYL. It's so great to have you here again. If you're new, you're going to notice a QR code at the top right-hand corner of the screen. Take your phone, just go to your phone app, and once you do that, you'll point to it. You'll see the little yellow link. Just click on that. Take you to my link tree. If you have any problems getting to my link tree, just go to Believe, Believe, me, M-E, achieve.com. All right, we have a great show for you guys tonight. You know how we roll. Every single week, we start on a Saturday, which will be tomorrow, and we roll to a Friday with the entire master topics, getting a little granular each day. And so thanks so much for popping in. If you are coming back, welcome back, my friends, colleagues, and wonderful associates. Thanks so much for being here. It means a lot to me from the bottom of my heart that you're here, and hopefully some of the new people will become loyal, just like the people with me for so very long. Let's get into that master topic, shall we? How to brainstorm. All right, we are on series of episode number 7, and I think this is really cool because when we think about brainstorming, right? We talked about this in the beginning. What is brainstorming? So let's just summarize. So what is brainstorming? Let's do that from the very beginning, because I think a lot of people get a little confused on what brainstorming is. Okay, and it's a process that allows us to get creative and find ideas to challenges, situations, etc. There is single brainstorming, and then there's group brainstorming. But what we've learned is that when we brainstorm, we should always brainstorm individually, and then we can collaborate with the group. So if we're doing a group brainstorming, it's actually done individually, and then it kind of gets pooled together, and people get to hear it. So that's really cool. But when we think about brainstorming, right? Brainstorming, there are 3 types of basic brainstorming. Verbal brainstorming, which Osborne developed this method in 1957. And the team gathers and pitches their ideas verbally. Okay, so that is the one type of brainstorming, right? And actually, when we think about brainstorming, verbal is really the key. It is the key for brainstorming. And you're saying to me, John, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it is. It's the key. So verbal brainstorming is number 1. All right. And there are other types of brainstorming, right? So there is verbal brainstorming, which is a great technique, which a lot of people use. But then there's also a nominal group technique. And so this one's a little bit different. You debrief the team. The host welcomes all the team members. The team spirit is an important part of success. And the idea is to be individually having each person write down on a paper or typed in a Word document idea generation. And this is a little bit different from the conventional technique where we brainstorm verbally. We put everything down. Usually the moderator or the, let's say, the team lead will actually set a clock. And people will need to write or type for that amount of time and not stop. There's one person that collects and collates all the data, but it's really important that you don't stop, that you keep brainstorming on a continuous basis. Now, this is hard for some people because they don't realize that they have to keep writing. That pen has to keep moving, right? That's really, really important. There's another kind of brainstorming, and it's called electronic brainstorming. And that's just when we use online platforms. Could be Zoom, could be other types of collaboration tools, Google, etc. Right? And so we use these platforms to help us to log our ideas. It could be on a Zoom, it could be on a WebEx, or a variety of other platforms. And so then what happens is the information could then be pooled and collected by someone, but it's just how the information is being recorded. So the first one we talked about, really simple, and everyone pretty much uses this today, and that is the brainstorming method of verbal brainstorming. Okay, and then there is the one I was just sharing with you, the nominal group technique. Okay, where we basically brainstorm, and one of the types of brainstorming techniques that we've talked about might seem difficult because there's some extra steps in the process. And I think some people get a little confused with this, but each person generates their ideas on a piece of paper, then they get collected. So it's pretty cool. Electronic does this online, And so, how do we choose what's effective? Well, as I said, there are three major types: verbal, the nominal group technique, and the electronic brainstorming technique. Now, there's also a spin off of the group technique where you can have people come into a room. And let's say we start with two people in the room. And the moderator or the team lead says, how can we make our products better? And so there might be 20 people or 25 people, but you start with these two. And then they go back and forth. And then after they've said something, then another two get invited in. And then you have to let them all go before you go again. And it's a pretty cool thing because when we think about brainstorming, it's a way of us starting to assimilate our ideas. That's what brainstorming is, in a nutshell. It allows us to group our ideas, right? But then why do so many people hedge brainstorming? I think the reason that people hedge brainstorming is very simple. I think they get confused. That's the honest truth. I think they get confused and they don't necessarily know what they want to do. But the truth of the matter is, they know it's a good idea. They're just not exactly sure how to do it. Right? How? People think that it's a little challenging. And it's not really challenging, but it can be annoying if you don't understand the process. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that brainstorming is something that can really propel us forward, propelling us forward to become a better version of ourselves. The challenge is that when we're in a group, we sometimes get, I don't know, brainwashed by the group and we don't want to do anything, not because we don't really want to, but simply because we're not sure and we don't know if this is going to help or if this is going to hinder things. And a lot of times people don't want to be part of something if they're not sure how it's going to turn out. Now, brainstorming is really, really cool. So a few thoughts on brainstorming, which might be handy for you, could be a business strategy framework in your management weekly meetings or your quarterly meetings. A SWOT analysis: strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats, in your management meetings. Soft skills for entrepreneurs in your daily or in your coaching meetings. What's a power brand? Talk about that. How is digital transformation impacting us as a company, and how is it allowing us to move forward to gain more revenue? Now, that might sound really, really crazy, right? But it's not. It's not crazy at all. It's the fact that we need to understand where things are going, okay? And if we can understand where things are going, then I believe it can be pretty cool, all right? But I don't want you to get frustrated and think that you have to do this in one day, because you don't. You don't need to do it in one day, okay? You just need to understand what's going on. So when we think about brainstorming, okay, what is important to know about brainstorming? Well, I think what I want to share with you guys is that brainstorming has the ability, it's a tool that has the ability to transform you and your organization to a more productive, efficient, and profitable workspace. Okay. But I feel that people sometimes just get a little bit ahead of themselves. So brainstorming has a lot of benefits, but you have to realize that you've got to start with something, right? You've got to come up with what you're brainstorming about. Like if I said, gee, let's brainstorm, but I have no idea what we're brainstorming about, our session's going to be very useless. Very, very useless. I mean, very useless. Why? It just is. I think you're going to find this because when we think about role playing in general, okay, people, have to try to assimilate to what something is. So role playing is a great way of actually taking a type of brainstorming and saying, what would it be like if it's on the other person's foot? What would that be like? Just think about that for a moment. Okay. Think about it just for a moment. I think people, for whatever reason, get lost in a shuffle. Not because they want to be lost in the shuffle, but because they get lost in the shuffle. All right. And they get lost in the shuffle not because they don't know what they're doing, but they get lost in the shuffle because, whatever reason, they feel that they get a little lost. And I think there's nothing wrong with being lost. Okay. Nothing wrong with getting lost. So playing the game of, what would it be like if the shoe was on the other foot? It's a great game to play. What would it be like if the shoe was on another foot? Think about that just for a moment. What would that be like? I think the biggest thing we have to understand is that we have to stay focused. When we stay focused and we have a plan of the process of the brainstorming, especially when we're working with teams. I've said that brainstorming, even though it's done in a group, it needs to be done individually. Even though it can be done collectively in a group, there is a process that has to happen with each person. And then the group can obviously tag on with more comments and things like that. Okay. But we can't just say, hey, group, do this, right? We can say that to the group, but then everybody individually does their brainstorming. Then they come back, like if we're doing verbal brainstorming. And I say, gee, what would be a more productive way for us to be using social media? And they may come back and say, well, I think we should create more call to actions. I agree with Jimmy. I think he's right. We should have more call to actions. I think we should have more videos. Okay. I think in addition to having more videos, we should have more call to actions that have an answer around the video. See, you get the idea. You see how this works? This is really, really cool. I mean, really, really cool. Now, not a bad thing, but I think the biggest challenge that people have is that they don't understand why something causes a problem. And the reason it causes a problem is because the process to how we do something was not thought out. So brainstorming is not going to work overnight, ladies and gentlemen. I have news for you. It's not going to work overnight. So you have to go through a process and understand what brainstorming is. If you can understand that, that's when you can truly appreciate really the creative skill of brainstorming, right? The creative skill of brainstorming. But brainstorming in itself will do lots of great things for you if you realize one thing. It's a process, and that process needs to be followed. Now, I'm not saying that you all have to be jumping, at the bat to do something. I'm not saying that at all, ladies and gentlemen. What I am saying is that you have to be somebody that is going to follow a process. And by following a process, I feel that you'll be able to repeat and do things over and over and over and over and over again many, many times, right? Many times. So think about this for a moment. What do you think it would take for you guys to actually follow a brainstorm process? What do you think it would take? think it would take something pretty interesting. Think about this for a moment. Think about how this would work for you. I think people get frustrated when they're on a journey. Like, have you ever known, whether it's a lady with a gentleman, and they're in the car and they're lost? And no matter what they do, they keep getting more lost, but nobody wants to ask for directions. Or your GPS system just seems to get you more further lost, or it just keeps putting you in a loop. And you're like, wait a minute, I was here once before, right? So brainstorming is a great tool. I hope all of you will use it in your personal lives, you'll use it in your business and everything you do, because it is something that will give us the ability to break down the critical faculties in our mind and just put things down. Remember, when you brainstorm, you don't have to be, well, you really shouldn't be critical, okay? Think about it for a moment. Think about this just for a moment. Think about why things don't work. And I think the reason things don't work is because, like I said, people get frustrated. So let's just understand that there is the verbal, there is the nominal for the group, right? And there is the electronic. And then there are different dichotomies of these brainstorming creatures. Like, what would it be like if, I was the customer or I was the vendor? Let's put ourselves in these different positional proverbial shoes. And when we do that, we really can appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, been a pleasure, been an honor to be with you this wonderful night. I hope you've really gotten an appreciation for brainstorming and what it can do for you in your life and how it can make a difference. I hope you like, love, and support my channel. And definitely comment below, tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. And then be sure, ladies and gentlemen, to, of course, share this out with everyone you know on social media. And you know what I'd like you to do then? Go to my YouTube channel, John space C space MORLEY space serial entrepreneur. Look for the key phrase to help keep our content free. Make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a savory slice of watermelon, a delicious hot chocolate, or a refreshing beverage. Either way, we'll be grateful with those pennies and dollars. We'll invest them into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, even new facilities to give you the most motivational, jaw-dropping, inspirational content to fuel and empower your lives to make a change, to improve it for the better. But remember, I can only make the suggestion. You have to take the step and commit to doing this. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And I'm going to see you tomorrow, Saturday, with a whole new set, brand new master topic. So have yourself a great night, everyone. Take care.